The paperwork is done. The body was never found because there was no body. Just a carefully staged scene, a borrowed car left near the river, a note typed on a library computer using gloves. The kind of plan that took 14 months to build. And it worked. You are dead. Officially. Legally. Completely. Somewhere right now, people who knew your name are crying over it. Your co-workers are getting the news in a group chat. Someone is planning a memorial. Flowers are being ordered. And you are sitting in a motel room in a state you've never lived in before, eating convenience store crackers, watching local news on a television bolted to the wall, and feeling something you did not expect to feel. Nothing. Not relief. Not freedom. Not the clean slate you spent over a year fantasizing about. Just a hollow, echoing nothing. Like you've been scooped out. You give yourself 3 days in the motel to fall apart. That's what you planned for. After that, you have to become someone else. Entirely. The new identity took most of your savings to build. Not the cheap kind you find on sketchy forums. Real infrastructure. A name that belongs to someone who actually existed. A child who died young in a county with paper records, whose birth certificate exists, but whose life never continued past age 4. Social security number attached to nothing suspicious. A foundation you can build on. You practiced the new name for months before any of this happened. Said it out loud in the shower, signed it on scrap paper until the signature stopped looking like a performance. Introduced yourself to strangers at gas stations in towns you'd never visit again, just to hear how it sounded coming out of your mouth in real life. It still sounds wrong. You'll learn. You have no choice. The first practical problem hits you within a week. You need a job. Not because you're broke, you have enough cash to last a year if you're careful. But because a person without income, without a paper trail, without any economic footprint looks suspicious. Invisible people attract attention. What you need is to be perfectly, boringly visible. You take a job at a warehouse. Overnight shifts, minimal conversation required, paid every 2 weeks in a direct deposit to a bank account opened with your new documents. Your co-workers call you by your new name, and you respond to it about 60% of the time. The other 40%, someone has to say it twice. You write the name on your hand with a marker for the first 2 weeks. You tell people you're just tired. The loneliness starts immediately and never really stops. This is the part nobody talks about when they fantasize about disappearing. You picture freedom. You picture starting fresh, no debt, no drama, no suffocating expectations. What you don't picture is sitting alone in a 1-bedroom apartment on a Tuesday night with no one to call. Not because you have no one, but because every person who ever knew you thinks you're in the ground. You think about your mother approximately 400 times a day. You knew this would happen. You planned for it. You told yourself it was a necessary loss, that staying was worse, that whatever you were running from, whether it was debt that had become unsurvivable, or a situation that had cornered you completely, or a version of yourself you could no longer inhabit, was a good enough reason to do what you did. Some days you believe that. Some days you don't. You can't grieve openly. That's the cruelest part. You're grieving too, in your own way. Grieving the people you left. Grieving the version of your life that should have worked out differently. But you can't tell anyone that. You can't cry about it at work or explain the hollow look on your face to the neighbor who asks if you're settling in okay. You smile and say you're still adjusting to the new city. You are always adjusting. 6 months in, you've built something resembling a routine. Work, sleep, grocery store. The diner on 5th where the coffee is bad, but the waitress doesn't ask questions. You've learned which neighbors wave and which ones talk. You avoid the ones who talk. You've also learned to be careful online in ways you never were before. Not just careful, paranoid, methodical. You use a VPN that routes through 3 different countries. You pay for everything in cash when you can. You have never once searched for news about yourself, about your former life, about any name connected to the person you used to be, on any device that can be traced back to your current address. You want to, though. Desperately. You want to know if anyone suspects. You want to know how the investigation went, whether it's still open or whether it was closed when they decided the river had taken you. You want to know if the people you loved are okay. You want to know if your mother got the letter you sent, the one you mailed from 5 states away, unsigned, just a few lines saying that you were sorry and that you loved her, written in your left hand to disguise the writing. You don't know if she received it. You will never know. 8 months in, you make your first mistake. It's small, almost nothing. You're at the diner and a song comes on, an old song, one that was playing the summer your father taught you to drive a car. And without thinking, without filtering it the way you've been filtering everything for 8 months, you say out loud, to no one in particular, the name of the town where you grew up. The waitress looks up. "Oh, you're from there? My cousin went to school there." You feel the floor shift underneath you. "No," you say too quickly. "I've just driven through it, heard it on a podcast or something." She nods and goes back to refilling coffee. She's already forgotten it, but you spend the next 4 days replaying that moment, mentally rehearsing what you should have said, running through every possible way it could unravel. The paranoia spikes and takes weeks to settle back down to its new normal level, which is still very high. You add another rule to your internal list. No nostalgia in public, no songs, no foods, no references. Nothing that could anchor you to a before. You are always in the after now. A year passes. You get promoted at the warehouse to shift supervisor. Your new name on a plaque by the break room. You feel a complicated kind of pride about that, followed immediately by guilt because the person on the plaque isn't real. You've made something adjacent to friends. A coworker who invites you to watch the game on Sundays. A woman from the apartment above yours who knocks sometimes to see if you want to walk to the farmer's market. These aren't deep relationships. You've made sure of that. You deflect personal questions with the skill of someone who has been practicing for a year straight. Whenever anyone asks about your family, you say it's complicated. Whenever anyone asks where you grew up, you say it around, that your family moved a lot. Whenever anyone gets too close to the edges of your fabricated history, you gently steer the conversation somewhere else. You've become an expert at being liked without being known. That's lonelier than it sounds. 18 months in, something shifts that you didn't anticipate. You stop feeling like a fugitive and start feeling like a ghost. Not in the dramatic sense, in the quiet, persistent sense. You walk through your days and everything functions. You do your job. You pay your bills. You eat meals and sleep in a bed and watch the seasons change through the window of an apartment that is yours but doesn't feel like it. And beneath all of it is this low, constant hum of unreality. Like you're watching your life from slightly outside of it. The person you used to be had problems, real ones, things that felt impossible to survive. But they also had a history, a texture, 20, 30, however many, years of accumulated experiences and relationships and moments that added up to an identity. Embarrassing memories, favorite places, the way certain people said your name. You traded all of that. And what you got in exchange is safety and nothing else. You try therapy, The kind where you pay cash and give a fake name and are careful about what you actually say. You tell the therapist you've been through a significant life transition and that you're struggling to feel present. She gives you exercises. They help a little. You stop going after 9 sessions because she's starting to ask questions that get too close to the shape of the truth. 2 years out. You've saved enough money now that the warehouse job is optional. You've been careful, disciplined. You think about moving again, starting somewhere new, maybe somewhere with a coast or with mountains or somewhere that just feels less like the holding pattern your current city has become. But moving means explaining. It means building again from scratch. It means another round of learning which neighbors talk and which ones wave, and where the good diner is, and how to be new without seeming suspicious about being new. You're tired of being new. You start to understand something that took 2 years to learn. You didn't escape your life. You escaped the specific circumstances of it. But everything internal, the patterns, the tendencies, the particular way your brain processes loneliness, that came with you. You packed it without meaning to. It was in the bag the whole time. 3 years in, something happens that you didn't plan for. You fall in love. Not dramatically, gradually. The way it actually happens when you're not looking for it. Someone at the warehouse, recently transferred, who makes you laugh at something during a night shift and keeps making you laugh over the following weeks. Who asks questions you actually want to answer, even though you can't answer them honestly. This is the part where the whole architecture of your new life becomes unstable. Because love requires truth, not the theatrical kind, just the basic kind, where someone knows who you are and where you came from and what your real name is. And you have none of that to offer. What you have is a constructed person, solid enough to function in the world, not solid enough to hold the weight of someone else's trust. You go on 4 dates. They're the best 4 nights you've had in 3 years. And then you end it. Badly, vaguely. The look on their face when you say it's not working out will stay with you for longer than you'd like. You go home and sit in the dark for a while. This is the cost nobody puts in the brochure. Not just the loneliness. The permanent inaccessibility of intimacy. The way a secret this size doesn't just limit what you can say. It limits what you can feel, or rather, what you can let yourself feel. Because every feeling is downstream of a lie. 4 years out, you read a news article. Not about yourself. Just a story about a woman who faked her death to escape a dangerous situation, and who was found 10 years later living quietly in another country. The article treats it like a crime story. The comments are merciless. Words like selfish, coward, fraud. You close the tab. You think about the person you were 4 years ago, what you were carrying, whether what you did was the only option or just the most dramatic one, whether there was a version of events where you stayed and fought and found a way through instead of finding a way out. You think about this a lot, more as the years accumulate than at the beginning. At the beginning, you were too busy surviving to question the choice. Now you have enough stability to look back, and looking back is complicated. You don't regret it every day. Some days you sit at the window with a cup of coffee and watch the street and feel something close to peace. The knowledge that whatever was hunting you before, whether it was debt collectors or a situation that had become dangerous or simply a self you could no longer stand to be, can't reach you here. That's real. That matters. But other days, you'd trade the peace for a single, honest conversation with someone who knew you before. Someone who'd call you by your real name. Someone who'd remember the person you used to be before you decided to kill them off. 5 years. You've built a life. A real one. in the sense that it functions, that it has texture and routine and people in it who care about you in the way people care about each other when they've spent time together. You have a small garden now in the yard of a house you're renting. Tomatoes, some herbs. It's the most anchored you've felt since before this started. You think sometimes about the people you left, about whether they've healed, about whether your absence broke something in them that never quite repaired. You think about the grief you caused and carry it the way. You carry everything now, quietly, without being able to put it down. You can't contact them. You know that. Even a letter would be a risk, even anonymously. Too many variables. One loose thread and everything unravels. So you hold it instead. The not knowing. Some things you don't get to resolve. Some decisions you make remove the possibility of resolution entirely. That's the weight that came with the freedom. That's what you agreed to without fully understanding, because you can't fully understand something until you're living inside it. The question you come back to on the quiet nights, on the long drives, on the mornings when you wake up and for 1/2 second you forget and think you're still yourself, is a simple one. Was it worth it? And the answer is always the same. Not yes, not no. Something more honest than either. It was necessary. Whether or not it was worth it is a question for a version of you that got to try the alternative. That version doesn't exist. You made the choice. The choice made you. And the person sitting here now, in this house, in this life, with this name, is what came out the other side. Alive, hidden, permanently altered. You died on paper and kept breathing. You left everyone who knew you and built something with strangers. You sacrificed the past for a future that doesn't fully feel like yours yet. Maybe it never will. Maybe that's the price. A life that fits, but only if you never look too closely at the seams. You water the tomatoes. Tomorrow you go back to work. The name on your badge isn't yours, but you'll answer to it. You always do.